Humanity Matters.
Hello, and thank you for joining me today. I'm your host, Richard Acritelli. This podcast is a production of the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center of Nassau County. On today's episode of The Fog of War and Humanity here on HMTV, my guest with me today is Keith Godwin. Godwin,
Yeah,
okay? A member of the Marine Corps who served in Okinawa and Korea. He's done a number of programs to help veterans out, and he has a very interesting and very strong personal story that he's going to share with us. Keith Godwin, right? I got it correct?
You got it. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
All right. That
the
sounds
extra
good.
O would make it good, but the G-O-D got,
All right. So
yeah.
the second O is silent.
Yeah.
All right. So
God wins.
yeah.
That's what I try to tell people. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So Keith, where did you grow up?
I grew up in first in Uniondale, New York, and then I moved out when I was young, and I did most of my schooling in Island Trees, Levittown area.
So you grew up like along Hempstead Turnpike and
Wantor Avenue.
Montauk Avenue there, right? And
Right.
my father had a trucking business, and we did deliveries for Sears in Hicksville and then in East Meadow. So even though I was a Suffolk County kid,
Right.
I was always driving a truck and delivering refrigerators and couches and mattresses and all kinds of stuff in your area. Now, what did you like to do as a kid?
I was very active, as a young kid. It's so different now, man. When I was a kid, all the neighbors got together. We played in the street, kicked the can, ring a Levio, and hide and seek, and we knocked at each other's doors. Now it's like to set up a play date.
Yeah.
I got to text.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I have an 8-year-old. I
Yeah,
started late.
your mother kicked you out of the house?
Yeah. I was like, when the lights came on, that's when I came back in.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
had the street lights. And it was like, oh, come in for dinner. The street lights are on. So
Yeah, we drank out of hoses as kids. And,
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was a different world. I had a good childhood. There was a pool around the corner. They used to have the green pool, so I used to go out there and play handball, stay in the pool all day, and
one of the Nassau County pools, right?
Yeah. They had the Nassau County, the Levitt pools.
Yeah,
They're all
yeah.
over Levittown. I mean, and as I got into a little mischief and a little trouble.
It happens.
Yeah.
Right?
But you know what? I didn't have the perfect childhood. It was my single mom. My father spent most of his life in jail. I never really knew my dad. My stepfather was a little abusive.
Yeah.
So my mom kind of had to take me and my little sister, and she did the best she could as a single mom, working 2 jobs, trying to take care of 2 kids, and when you're little, you don't realize it. I had friends, I had someone to play with, I had food in my belly,
Sure.
and I was good to go.
And you went to Island Trees?
Yeah, Island Trees.
What was Island Trees like there?
It was cool. I mean, I had some problems there in school because once I started to get into high school, I started to get into drugs a little bit, and I was like a chameleon. I was a great athlete, so I hung out with the jocks. Then I was like, I like to smoke pot and drink, so I hung out with the burnouts.
Yeah.
And then I was good at chess and Dungeons and Dragons, so I hung out with I had 3 different groups of friends, man.
Yeah, you like to probably smile a little bit. And,
Yeah.
that turn
Especially when I smoke pot, I smile a little more.
Yeah.
While I'm eating my Doritos.
That term burnout is something where that was something that we used in the early 1990s. And, it's...
Yeah, that's when I graduated.
It's a little bit different now.
86, and I got out of the Marines in 1990. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're in Island Trees. You kind of said that, you got in a little mischief, right?
Right.
Were there any classes that you liked the best? Was there anything you gravitated towards?
I did photography once, and I really liked photography. Something about the creativity and taking pictures and the attention and going around with a camera and everyone excited. That kind of, lit a little fire in me. And other than that, it was gym. I was just like, I love gym. I was really good at sports, everything I did with athletes. So, gym and...
You couldn't beat a good game of gym volleyball or dodgeball, right?
Yeah, dodgeball. Yeah. My kid does that. Like I said, I'm 59. I have an 8-year-old, so I started
Now they
late.
say dodgeball is too it's too offensive. They think it's like too aggressive or something like that, And,
Quick funny story. I was at Urban Air yesterday with my kid, and he's 8. And I was a tough kid. And, you know, like I would play soccer. I'd have a black eye. I'd be like, send me in. My kid was playing volleyball. And he comes and he has a bloody nose. He goes, they hit me in the nose with the ball, Daddy. And I'm like, oh, you got to, you know, it's like, let's take you out. He's like, no, I want to go back and play. Yeah. I stuck some tissues paper in his nose. And I go, he's my son.
Yeah. All right. Well, put me back in, Coach.
Yeah.
All right. So you graduate what year?
1985.
1985. Okay. Yeah. So you're in kind of the heart of the Cold War still? You got that great movie on Reagan that's coming up with him and Gorbachev, right?
You know, you want to hear a story about Reagan? When I was in the Marines, I joined in 86, May of 86. Reagan came down to Parris Island on June 4th, which is my birthday, 1986, to Parris Island. And he's like, I want to be the first one to call you Marines. So I had Ronald Reagan at Parris Island while I was in boot camp on my birthday, man. I'll never forget it. And
I'm sure your instructors and the officers were like, you better look straight.
Yeah.
When those shoes better be shined. And there was no messing around.
I met Reagan in person, and Nancy and Clinton. I used to work security in a 5-star hotel in Manhattan. And, you know, I did, you know, security like that. So
what did you think of Reagan when you saw him?
Just a nice guy. He signed me an autograph picture with him. And
we're both blue-collar guys, right?
Yeah.
Reagan was a blue-collar guy.
Yeah.
You could take all that Hollywood stuff and the big smile and throw it right out the window, because guy was a punter in college and a radio broadcaster for sports. And, you know, like, I think he had a pretty good personality.
He didn't lose his humility, too. Like, he made sure, my boss, who was the head of security, that all the guys got something from Reagan. Like, he wasn't so big where he forgot the little guy. You know, I do remember, you know.
There's a great speech. It's in a debate, and he's debating Walter Mondale in 1984. So, you know, they always said Reagan's getting older.
Right.
This and that and so on, right? So, and Reagan had to win in 1980. He doesn't win in 1980. It's like Hillary Clinton against Trump. If she doesn't win in 2016, that's it for her.
Right.
Because her age is going to go against her, right? So he's got to win in 1980. So now this is 1984. And, you know, what you're looking at is Reagan turns the age card against Mondale. And he goes, I'm not going to use age in this campaign because my opponent is younger and more inexperienced than I am.
He flipped it, right.
It flipped it. And Mondale was laughing.
Yeah.
Like today, they would be like, you know, how could you say such a thing?
Right.
But they actually, you know, it was like a funny, thing.
Yeah.
Like Trump, there's times I don't love everything that he says and does. But Biden, before they pulled him, he had said something where it made no sense.
Right.
And Trump, in like one of the few times where he was very limited in terms of what he says,
right?
Because he doesn't have the discipline over his mouth, right?
Right. He does. I'm a Trump guy. I was at January 6th, and you know, but I also think he needs a pause button.
Yeah. So he just does this with his mic, and he ends up saying, I don't know what he said, and I don't think he knows what he said.
Right.
And he just stopped right there.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Sometimes the presidents can show like a
little
different side. Now, what about Clinton? What did you think of Clinton?
I liked Clinton.
Yeah.
You know what? Hey, he had his history, but I think the way he ran the country, you know, I mean, men are men, man. You know, sometimes we have, you know, and when you're in the public eye, you should not go in the public eye unless you're ready to hold yourself to a certain set of standards. So, hey, he had his discrepancies, but as a president, I thought he was pretty good.
Guys like him and Nixon, they're not necessarily bad presidents.
Right.
They actually do some good things.
Right.
But they also do some dumb things that catches up with them. Right.
Right.
You know, they're not James K. Buchanan, the president before this, you know, Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
Who just lets the country just implode, right, and does nothing.
Yeah, and there's this thing I used to, like, I was a therapist, and I used to do this thing on the board. I would put 10 math problems, and one of them would be wrong. And I'd be like, what do you notice? And everyone would be like, the wrong one. I go, what about the 9 right ones? So when you're in politics, if you do a lot of right things and one really bad thing.
That's what they notice.
Yeah, even like that Bill Buckner guy from the Red Sox. I mean, the guy was there, but that's his legacy for the rest of his life was that era.
Should never have been in that game. Bad knees, can't bend.
Yeah, I'm a Met fan, so I'll take it.
What a disaster for the right, and for him.
But it's funny how one event can overshadow. That's why when people say Clinton, they're like, "Oh, Clinton did." I go, "Yeah, but what else did he do?" You know, like what did he do for the? You know,
I felt
respect being an American with Clinton as president. You know, like I was proud to be an American. I thought he was a pro-American president. Did he have stuff with us? We all do.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know, so, but I could get over that, you know.
You know what the interesting thing with Clinton is he says, I'm going to put the internet in every classroom in America. We were like, what's the internet? Like Back to the Future.
Right.
This is a rerun. This is the honeymoon. What's a rerun, you know? And all right, so now you graduate high school, right?
Barely,
but you make it through.
Yeah,
right?
I got kicked out my senior year because they came up with this new attendance policy, and I had to actually leave Island Trees, move in with my grandmother in Massapequa, and I graduated from Berna High School in Massapequa.
Massapequa. Okay.
Yeah. So
was it a little bit different? Was Levittown and Massapequa a little bit different?
You know, at that point, I was only there for like 4 or 5 months. I was just like, let me get through this. Let me get my high school diploma, and like I said, I wasn't the best student.
Yeah.
You know, I was good, but I used to miss a lot of class. But I was very smart, so I was good at tests.
You just had to apply yourself.
Right. If when I went back to college, I was on the dean's list. I did some good things.
I had a million kids just like you.
It's
like in Saving Private Ryan, you know, when they're talking. My brothers and I were brutal to our teachers, and Captain Miller goes, I had a million kids just like you.
Yeah.
But all right, so now you get out, you graduate from Massapequa, right?
Right, Berna.
Now, would you go in the Marine Corps a year after you graduate?
No, well, what happened is me and 3 friends, and we were all going in on the buddy system. And I was the only one who ended up going. One guy failed his ASVAB. One guy failed his physical. One guy went in the Air Force and did 20 years.
Wow. And
I went in the Marines, but I got in trouble before I was supposed to go in the Marines. I got arrested.
So you go to Fort Hamilton?
No. I didn't go to Fort Hamilton yet. I was scheduled to go there. Maybe I did go. I don't remember because it was a while ago. But I was scheduled to go in the Marines, and I got in some legal trouble. And my recruiter went to court. This is back when they could do that.
Are you allowed to say what you did, or?
It was something stupid. He was either drinking and driving or smoking pot and getting caught with. It wasn't nothing major. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty open with my history and my past.
But it was enough to get you in trouble.
It was enough to get me in trouble and have a record that would have stopped me from being a Marine.
It's interesting that you should say about your own conduct and getting in trouble and this and that, because years ago, what did the judge say? You're either going to jail or you're going to the military.
Right. And that's exactly what he told me.
That's completely changed.
Yep.
Changed.
You get in a little trouble, they're not sending you now.
No.
And the recruiter won't come down to court and they'll be like, oh, you blew it. You know, so, and I remember that because I got delayed and I didn't know if I was going to get in the Marines because of that. And I had to go.
Did you have to get out of this area of Nassau County? Was there just too many tangibles going against you?
You know, it wasn't the place. Wherever I went, I took me with me.
Yeah.
You know, and I just had that mentality where I was going to find trouble. I was going to find mischief.
A little bit larger than life. Right?
Yeah. So it wasn't the area because whatever area I went, you know, I was still there. It was chaos, and I found it. You know, like I sorted out.
Yeah.
You know, like how you have the, you know, like, oh, don't hang out with that kid. He's bad news. I was that kid. I wasn't a bad kid. I was just a very, I had a good heart. I was just always in some stuff. I used to, I ride with a motorcycle club now, all Marines, and I used to hang out with like the 1% clubs when I was young, when I was 16, with the pagans and the angels when I was a little older, and even though they hate each other, I didn't care. It was people to run around with and get into chaos, and that's what I was attracted to.
It's kind of like a Bronx Tale. Now you can't leave with some of those guys, right? So now, what does the judge say to you? They're going to try and scare you, right? Were you scared at that point?
You know what? I was nervous because I really wanted to be a Marine. You know, everyone told me, I'm the type of person where if you tell me I can't do something, I got to prove you wrong.
Sure.
Someone told me before I joined the Marines, I couldn't run a marathon. Yeah. And I was like, I could do whatever I want. And I ran 26 miles without training, 4 years in a row. My mom kept putting me in it, you know, because I didn't like someone. So people told me, you're crazy. You can't be a Marine. You'll never make it. So that's why I was like, I'll show you. So I was kind of, I was a little upset that I didn't know if I was going to go. My mom supported me. My recruiter supported me, and you know, I ended up getting him.
You go to Hamilton after the trouble subsided.
I think I might have went twice.
You went twice. Okay.
Yeah, I might have had to go twice. I don't remember clearly. I remember going to Hamilton. I remember swearing in.
Because I went to Hamilton twice. The first time, they didn't have my job there.
Okay.
And I'm like, all right, I got to go home and think about this.
Right.
Because I was on my own. And I went back. It's not a great place to go back twice.
Right. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah, I remember they come, they pick
you
you up. It's like 5 a.m, and you know you drive out to
And that's your first taste of the military.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So now, what was the job that you wanted to do in the Marine Corps?
Well, I was supposed to go in as E3 or E2. I think it was an E3 because I had ROTC.
Okay.
I took ROTC and whatever, but when I got in legal trouble, they dropped it, and I had to. I had an MOS, but I had to go in open contract.
Okay.
Open contract, as you know, means they could put you wherever they want.
And that's not always a good contract to have.
Yeah, you know, I mean, usually you become a grunt,
Yeah.
an 0311, like that's where most open contracts go. I got lucky. I became what's called a field radio operator. You know, we're like, you know, they used to call us battery operated grunts, but everyone needs to communicate. So you could be with the air wing, you could be with the tankers, you could be with the grunts. I ended up with the air wing in Cherry Point,
nice.
light anti-aircraft missiles, the heat-seeping missile group.
Okay.
So I got really lucky. And in Okinawa, when I was in Japan, I was with the support FSSG. So
Now, you're in Parris Island. You're a kid that's known for being in trouble, getting into trouble, right? It finds you or you find it.
Yeah.
What was the hardest thing at Parris Island that you had to get used to?
Discipline. I didn't listen well. I got in trouble in Parris Island too. I got put on what's called trial training. I was in boot camp and they didn't want me to move on with my platoon, so they put you on what's called trial training. There was 4 of us, and if you don't pass it, you go back to the platoon behind you. Yeah. So you're there another 3-4 weeks. You know, so I used to laugh in people's faces when they got in my face, and you know, and I just was very belligerent.
Not a real good.
No, I was a wise ass New York kid, and I had 2 Southern drill instructors that were like half my size because I'm 6'6", and they in my face yelling at me, and they hated me. And
I was the opposite of you.
Oh, okay.
Right? I had red hair and freckles, of which you look like you had red hair maybe at one time, right?
Yep.
Strong Long Island accent, which we both have.
Right.
Okay, and I have an Italian last name, right?
Oh, okay.
Even though my mother's from Ireland, right? I would try to keep my mouth shut and my head down.
Yeah.
And I had a guy.
That was smart.
I had a guy from Massachusetts who had this awful accent that was worse than mine. And I would always have to thank him. Whatever's coming, you know, my way, you're deflecting. I got to thank you, you know? And, you know, I just tried to you know, keep my head down.
Yeah.
And because, you know, it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
No, they're going to win sooner or later.
No, they do. They put me on what's called the permanent digging crew. Like anytime anyone got in trouble in boot camp, I had to go dig with them. So like, it's funny because I went in doing like 3-4 pull-ups, but I got in so much trouble that it ended up working to my benefit. I was doing like 40 pull-ups by the time you're the PFTs that, you know, that we do. I did really well in those. So,
and you had instructors that, you know, could have been higher ranking NCOs, officers that saw the last part of Vietnam, some of the Cold War stuff that was going on. You go over to Asia, they might have been there before you.
Right.
Where you had guys, they weren't wet behind the ears. They had some experience.
Yeah, they had, you know what? I had a lot of respect for them. And my senior drill instructor, for some reason, he saw something in me because the other 2 wanted to recycle me. And, but you know what? I remember the day before you graduate, they come out of character. And they talk to you like a man, you know. And I remember that, you know. I'll never forget.
And it shocks you.
Yeah, like they're real people.
They got a heart,
they appreciated what you did. And,
they got a pulse.
Right.
Yeah. What was the big thing that shocked you, speaking, you know, to one of those instructors there?
Well, you know, it was just, everything was just so mechanical. They're always yelling, screaming. You're always doing something. And when they came out of character and showed their humanistic side and talked to you like you're going to be one of them, it was just like a shock because you're a recruit. You're not even a private. You're a recruit. And, the day before, they're like, it was just like, wow, I'm really going to be a Marine.
Wow.
I'm going to be it's a very like humbling, proud, and you know what? I had to go through what I had to go through, man. I was young.
But they can never take that away from you.
Yeah. That's one thing about, all service people. And, like I said, I worked for the VA and being a veteran, a lot of the shit I got into, I continued to get into later in my life, and the VA helped save my life. Sure. And then I went back to school. I became a therapist, and I was able to help other people.
You got good guys like Richie Kitson, who's from the same area of Levittown.
Yeah. Richie came in after Marine, me, but there's so much support. This guy Joe Sledge, who's an Army guy and just a very humble, good guy. And people knock the VA or whatever. Sometimes, no matter what you do, there's always nothing's perfect. It's came a long way from where it was, and there are a lot of good people. Like in any,
it's a government agency.
Yeah, you're gonna get some people who are there because it's a government agency.
You're dealing with people all over the country,
right?
Multiple problems, issues. Different situations.
I was there yesterday. I actually. I speak because I'm a 12-step guy. I was in recovery. I got into drinking and drugs even in the Marines. They told me, they said, you drink too much, you have a problem. They wanted, and if you get singled out for drinking too much in the Marines,
then there's a problem.
there's a problem.
Well, drinking's part of the military, right?
That's what I thought, drinking and fighting, and I kept getting in trouble for it, So.
They said about Ulysses S. Grant, he drinks too much, this and that. Well, they all drank.
Right.
But he was winning.
Right.
Right? And then
part of the culture.
It's part of the culture. You're not making much money.
Yeah.
You're probably in a bad part of the area of the country or the world. You're doing dangerous things. It's just one of those things. You're away from home, right? And they went after Grant a number of times. And Lincoln finally, crosses his legs. He puts his hands over his lap. And he goes, well, what does he drink? And they go, well, we think he drinks whiskey. Try to find out the type of whiskey he drinks, because I'll issue it to generals who have yet to fight and win a battle.
Right.
And so he took it the other way. I know this man drinks, but he's not drunk during the height of the battle. With him, it was when there was nothing going on.
Right.
He was a binge drinker. He wouldn't touch it for 5 or 6 months.
Right.
And then for 3 days, he was running around with a lampshade on his head, and then that was it. He was one of the few generals where his wife and his family was near him, because his wife kept an eye on him, his wife Julia.
That's
pretty interesting.
And that's kind of what a lot of people don't realize, and you touched on it with, even alcoholism and drug abuse, is when you're in the military, you're programmed a certain way. And to cope, a big coping mechanism is when you're in the field, you drink.
You drink.
And you feel good, you drink. You feel bad, you drink.
And we're young guys, and who you're looking at most likely is your bosses that are older.
Right.
And, these are hard individuals who drinking was part of it.
Then you get out, and it's like, the adjustment, and especially the guys that were in combat or went through some stuff, and, they got to sort through it, they don't want to feel what they need to feel, and then it becomes a problem.
When did they tell you that you drank too much at Cherry Point?
No, in Okinawa, Japan. Okinawa. Yeah, because I kept getting in trouble fighting at the bars, and would you fight
with other Marines or Okinawans?
Yeah, if there was no other service guys around, I'd fight with other Marines.
Wow.
But if there was other service members, we'd fight.
What was the trigger? Was there any trigger?
Just someone coming out of their face saying something. Just I was looking for a reason to fight. I was looking for, I like to be the guy who's like, look, they did something wrong and I took care of it. Meanwhile, I was searching for that crate. And I got beat up pretty bad myself. I'm a big guy, but don't get me wrong. There was some guys who've taught me a few lessons too.
And that's funny you should say that. Normally, big tough guys only say when they win. It's like gamblers. They never tell you when they lose, right?
Yeah. So, I was in Okinawa. I got hit in the head with a glass, 16 stitches in my head, and I'm sitting there smiling while after I got hit. I just had this.
Did they say you were defacing government property or anything like that?
No, they didn't hit me with that. But yeah.
Did you like Okinawa? Did you?
You know what? looking back, I liked my whole experience in the Marines, but when I was in it, I didn't feel that way. I was, but Okinawa was awesome. I got a great duty station. I got to learn a little bit about a foreign culture.
Yeah.
I took a little Japanese.
Sure.
I went to the Philippines while I was there. I went to Korea.
Yeah.
I went to.
You can get in a little bit of trouble in the Philippines, right?
You know what? I got thrown in jail, not in the Philippines, in Tijuana, Mexico.
Wow.
But again, being publicly drunk, so I was getting ready to go to Okinawa. I was in Camp Pendleton, which is where they ship you from to go to Okinawa, and I went out in Tijuana.
So that's like the shipping station or organizational, right? They know you're going overseas.
Yeah, not everyone. It's a big duty station, but one part of it is that before you go to Okinawa, you go to Camp Pendleton usually. Okay. Yeah.
All right, so Keith, we're going to come back for a second episode here on the Fog of War and Humanity. I have Keith Godwin here. As you could tell, Keith isn't that shy, and we're having a very good conversation here, and a little bit of a different look at the military and some of the highs and lows, and his pursuit of helping others today, especially within uniform. So come back for a second episode here on the Fog of War and Humanity.
If you enjoyed exploring the information, history, and stories in today's conversation, be sure to check out our other podcasts here on HMTV. Please subscribe, share, and stay connected for more engaging conversations.
Humanity Man.